Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Big News Wednesday. I'm John Adirola, and you can probably tell from my attire that I am running behind. It is very busy here. We've produced a huge show, which Francesca Fiorentini is going to be joining us. It's going to be awesome. We've got Meanwhile In. We've got the new Iowa abortion ban. We got a lot of stuff. We got store owners following up the Supreme Court's anti-LGBTQ decisions, trying to test how much farther they can go. We got a lot of stuff to get to, and after we finished producing that, I recorded some vertical videos for the Damage Report's TikTok, tiktok.com/@the-damage-report. Just search for the Damage Report on TikTok. We're talking about Idaho's anti-abortion bill and some updates on the classified documents trial and the Trump legal team's attempts to push that back until, like, never, to never happen. So we're busy. We got a lot to talk about, including in this pre-show. We're going to be talking about Jesse Waters doing the thing that conservatives do, which is pretend that they have these sorts of lofty standards for masculinity, how buff and virile a leader is supposed to be, unless he's on the right wing, in which case he can just let his body go to hell, like most people do, honestly. So we're going to be talking about that if we get to 1,000 likes. And honestly, we don't have a lot of time, because I do have to get dressed for the show. I'm not going to leave Francesca hanging, so those of you, the 300 of you, who are watching but haven't clicked the like button, I implore you, do the right thing. And while you do that, I'm going to give you some news. The headline version of this is not why this is interesting necessarily. Marjorie Greene calls for Biden to pull the U.S. out of NATO. They are not a reliable partner. That is not surprising. That fits with the way that she has talked about NATO, the way a topic that she, as I will demonstrate, knows literally nothing about. The way that Donald Trump has talked about it, we're supposed to end these, international alliances that help to lower the chance of military conflict between states because they don't care. They want military conflict between states because it's good for the defense contractors. But anyway, that's not the interesting part. The interesting part, and it's not even the interesting part for me, isn't that this is what Russia wants. That goes without saying, I think. It's what she said to defend it. So let's see. She says, the United States has been financing and promising to defend NATO countries for decades and paying more than their fair share and benefiting mightily from it, of course. Western European countries could and should be stepping up their financial contributions to ensure the security of NATO. Instead, they are entirely beholden to Russia, and the U.S. taxpayer is expected to foot the bill. So which is it? Is it that the NATO states just twisted Putin's arm and he had to brutally invade a country? Or are they entirely beholden? Whatever Russia wants, what Russia gets. This feels very similar to the January 6 rioters thing to me, where they are great patriots who are being targeted and abused by the DOJ unless what they did looks bad, in which case Antifa super soldiers, provocateurs, infiltrators. Wait, no, they're being attacked? Okay, then they're the great patriots. They're the great... Wait, traitors! It's like back and forth between sentences. I get what she wants. She doesn't give a damn about what Russia does. Which, by the way, pointing that out, there's not one explanation for that. Now, it could be that she actually, has Russia's interests at heart. I know that's what a lot of people would jump to, but bear in mind, it doesn't have to be that. Look, I do think that the right wing has a bizarre and growing ideological affiliation with a lot of world dictators, including Vladimir Putin, but her position does not rely on her wanting Russia to invade Ukraine. It could just be based on a complete lack of interest. She doesn't give a shit. Now, the part that I take the most issue with is, regardless of which of those it is, her pretending that her opposition to this is because she's against war and intervention and she wants peace and how dare we waste money on weapons. That is absolute bullshit. The entire thing is bullshit. She's perfectly happy to see invasions and bombings and massive military spending. She just doesn't give a shit in this case. And there's, to me, as much as I hate people who are out and out warmongers, advocates for war, advocates for increased military spending, I kind of hate this worse. Do you feel the same way? People who take the position of being against, military conflict and then holding that up, a facade for their true position, which would see never-ending military conflict, never-ending spending on wars. And they sort of cloak themselves in dove's feathers, I suppose. But anyway, that's Marjorie Green. Hold on one sec. Really fast. Ronnie Blevins, welcome to Tier 1 membership. Glad to have you here, Ronnie. Okay. Anyway, if you're just joining us now, hit the like button. We want to see what Jesse Waters has to say. We've been trying not to cover everything that Miles Taylor says in his upcoming book. He's got this book coming out, Blowback, A Warning to Save Democracy from the Next Trump. Some of it is pretty interesting, though, and I feel like we have to mention, obviously, the Ivanka stuff, but also the fact that behind the scenes, Trump officials were racing to stop him from invoking the Insurrection Act in 2019. Good Lord. We know, like there's no controversy over a couple of the times that our democracy, our system was taken to the brink. But apparently there were others behind the scenes. And sometimes, I'm not going to say good people on the Republican side, but people who were not wholly evil and opposed to democracy, doing good things behind the scenes. Maybe you believe that Miles Taylor is one of those. I don't know. Remember, he is making money for the sale of this book. That's the way that it works, but I can still take a little issue with it. But anyway, apparently there were some, more cases of things being taken to the brink than perhaps we knew. Just very briefly, GOP congressman has been banned from Wikipedia for doing a ton of self-editing of his thing. Look, the stuff that he's self-editing, for the most part, is not as big of an issue as what you might assume. You might assume that it's removing scandals or adding accolades he doesn't deserve. There's like a little bit of that. A lot of it is, he made 26 changes, by the way. So things like literally changing his name to put his middle initial, that's so petty. Adding his positions in government, saying that he's a notable alumnus of Manhattan College. That's like the most like sort of shallow and self-serving thing. The thing about this that like amazes me though is like you and I would assume, I can only speak for myself, but I would assume that they're busy. Hey Dragon, how's it going? Aren't they busy? Like, don't they have to, I'm not going to say like write legislation or do research and meet with their constituents, but don't they have to raise money or something? How do you have so much time to do so many edits to your Wikipedia? I haven't even looked at my Wikipedia in a number of years. And I would assume that a congressperson would be busier than me. I want to mention a little bit of good news, or sorry, what seems like good news, unless you're a right-winger. I'm going to try to bring up the tweet that will really... Oh, thank you, Panic Boo. How nice of you. That'll really get across this message. But it has to do with inflation. Obviously, it's one of the big struggles that our country has been facing for some time. Where is it? Man, you scroll like over NBC News' Colorado woman died after falling 500 feet while free solo climbing a ridge at Rocky Mountain National Park. Dear God, no. Why do I look at the news sometimes? Anyway, we're going to talk about good news. Now, the good news is this. Inflation continues to cool, okay? Consumer prices rising 3% in June, which is a big drop from the previous month. So that is good. There is still a lot of movement that we would like to see there, but it is sort of moving in the right direction. Now, one would think that's good news, right? So NBC News has a tweet about it, and instantly all of the what do you know, blue checks don't like it. So K Dreamer says lies. It's a lot easier, it turns out, to just say that it's lies than to present evidence that it's lies. Astrid, the government propaganda media. Oh, I see, because they're reporting that inflation is going down, so it's government propaganda. Do you not think that they reported every fucking time that inflation was going up? They report the jobs numbers every month. They report the inflation numbers constantly over the past 2 years. Have you at least looked to see if they reported on that? No, instantly. It's propaganda because I don't like it. What they are saying is they're cloaking, again, I hate when stuff is turned on its head. They want propaganda. You see that? They don't want accurate information about the state of the country if that accurate information implies that things are moving in a positive direction at a time when they like to imagine that everything is getting worse. They are so used to being propagandized to that just simple declarations of economic reality are too much for them, and they have to fucking lash out. And we have to see it because they paid $8 a month to the richest man in the world. Ryan says, well, 40% inflation couldn't last forever. But isn't that good? It shouldn't. We don't want it to. Why aren't you happy? I sure do miss Trump prices. Sweet. So are presidents responsible for inflation or not? Because you're implying that the prices were low because he's president. But then the inflation went up during a fucking pandemic, I'll point out. And now the prices are going down, so isn't that the president's fault again? Isn't that good news? Mortgage interest rates are almost 7.5%. No, I agree. That is still very high, but this is an indication that they might start to go down, so it should be good. V for Vendetta. Tumbled? From what? From a higher number! That's what tumbled means. It means it's not zero yet, but it was higher before. Thus, the good news. How much has inflation risen under Biden? I can't believe people fall for this. It's going down right now. That's what the article is about. And if you click on the actual article, it talks about the historic numbers. You're asking rhetorical questions when you could just be asking questions and then receiving answers. My God, I fucking hate rhetorical questions. Not in principle. They serve a purpose, but they should have never been released for the public to use because most people do not understand what the point of a rhetorical question is, and all too often they use it as sort of like a relief valve, like that they don't want to have to think about something, so they just throw it out. Because when you ask a rhetorical question, it implies that you're interested in reality, it implies that you want answers to questions, when the exact opposite is actually true. We need 165 likes, and I can only give 1 to the stream, so it's going to be on you. But I will say this. I sometimes love pettiness. I do love pettiness. You want to see something almost like if you asked ChatGPT to produce the pettiest thing that Trump could do, maybe it would do this. Trump to appear in Fox News town hall just days after skipping presidential forum hosted by Tucker Carlson. Are you fucking kidding me? Donald Trump hates Fox News. Fox News is fake news. Fox News is Rhino. Fox News wants Ron DeSantis. Tucker Carlson, you're better without Fox. They were holding you down. You should go independent. And now it's time to meet up with someone to get some publicity. Fuck you, Tucker. I'm going to go with the Rhinos. Tucker's going to have to pretend, of course, that he doesn't have an issue with that. I will remind you, by the way, how many people have forgotten that Tucker Carlson hates Donald Trump's guts? And we thought it was weird when they sort of had to pretend to still like each other. It is possible that Donald Trump has been affected by that in the way that one would expect a human to. Anyway, we need to move on to our final story because we did get to 1,000 likes and we don't have much time. Am I going to be able to put on a tie? We will have to see.
Biden didn't work for 4 days. He just got
He always
to Europe
hated
yesterday.
when Trump took time off.
Before that, he was on the beach in Delaware. Now, I don't know why they're lying about that. We have video of Biden on the beach. That's not an official work day. We wish
but playing
we
golf
didn't have
is,
this
just to be
video.
clear.
We don't want to see the president humiliating himself like this, barely dragging his beach chair across the sand. Isn't there a staffer who could do that, by the way? Maybe a Secret Service agent?
Again, these anti-elitists are only comfortable when people have servants do their work for them. The fact that this guy is just fucking at the beach, doing what you do at a beach, which is move your own furniture, he finds that to be appalling.
The guy was struggling to strip his shirt off. And once he got it
When you're sweaty, it's hard to take your shirt off. What the fuck is this criticism?
over his head, his milky body was fried to a crisp. He had skin cancer, right? he better have some SPF 70. He should not let himself
That's a high
get dominated
number.
by the sun, especially on a public beach, right? And who's the lady next to Joe? That doesn't look like Dr. Jill Biden.
Another rhetorical question. Are you actually curious?
You don't want to see the president laying like a corpse, bare-chested in the sun. You got to move if you're going to be shirtless. Play beach volleyball, spike ball, cornhole.
Do we need to explain to Jesse Waters the concept of sunbathing? Go to the beach. You'll find a bunch of fucking people laying like corpses. They're just laying there in the sun like it's relaxing or therapeutic or something. Has he ever been to a beach? Now, that's not a rhetorical question. I'm actually curious. Would anyone invite Jesse Waters to the beach? I don't know that I would. It is hard to take off a shirt when it's sweaty. He's like a 77-year-old man who's still going to the beach, laying out with his family or friends, and that's a downside from their point of view? Doing a human fucking thing that regular people do. Not just, sitting in a $100 million resort. Again, these anti-elite, men of the people sure seem to hate the idea of being a man of the people, I should say. Also, he's not hot enough. Did you notice that? Joe Biden, not hot enough. He's too pale, although he doesn't want him to get tan, just to be clear. He's too pale, and he hates that, but he hates the idea that he might get tan. And he's not in good enough shape. He's not sexy enough. First of all, here's a challenge, Jesse Waters. Take your fucking shirt off. How about that? Let's see you on the beach and see how many women just faint at the sight of you. I'm really sick of this. I'm sure that the rest of you are. It is one thing to actually have ridiculous standards for your public officials or people in the media wherein you believe that we should care about how fuckable they are. That would be a really weird situation to be in. Doesn't make any sense. Has nothing to do with your ability to do the work of government or whatever. But they don't even have that standard. They're politicians. I think a lot of people would kick them out of bed, honestly. They're media figures. Whiny little man babies, for the most part. So it would be one thing if they actually had the standard, but they don't. None of them feel the need to be Adonises. Who thinks that Tucker Carlson is a titan of a man? Who thinks that Jesse Waters can bench a bunch? Have the standard if you're gonna have the standard, and when you have that standard, we'll mock you because it's stupid. But you don't even have that. Stop lying to people about how caveman-esque your philosophy is. Anyway, Francesca Fiorini is coming in 7 minutes. We're going to have an awesome Big News Wednesday. I hope that you all join us. We got a lot of fun, big stories to talk about. Terrible news for Donald Trump when it comes to the E. Jean Carroll trial. Bad news for Iowa as well. But we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about quiet quitting. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you then.